What we will get to now is Fareed Zakaria, who talked to Aryeh Neier, a giant in the world of human rights, who literally is a Holocaust survivor.
It's a tough week as the International Criminal Court requested.
He created the Human Rights Watch. Let's take a look at what he had to say about Israel's actions.
My guest is Aryeh Neier. He's a giant in the world of human rights and a survivor of genocide himself. He was born a Jew in Nazi Germany. He and his parents escaped Berlin 2 weeks before the start of World War II. He went on to study at Cornell and then to co-found Human Rights Watch. He was at the forefront of the movement to establish the international tribunals, which eventually became the ICC and the ICJ. All the time you were head of Human Rights Watch, you, I think, only one time accused a country of genocide.
Yes.
Saddam Hussein's
Yes.
attempt to eliminate the Kurds.
The Kurds.
So when you say in this New York Review of Books piece that you have concluded that Israel is guilty of attempting genocide,
yes,
that's a very...
I can't believe that Fareed Zakaria, a brown guy, has another Hamas supporter on his channel. CNN basically also overtaken by Hamas. That's right. Classic Hamas supporter, dude. Really f***ed up, you know? Wait, I'm hearing that you're saying you're telling me that he is a Holocaust survivor?
Very heavy charge.
Yes.
What is the principal reason you say that?
Well, first let me say that when the South African case charging genocide was initially brought, I was not one of those who endorsed South Africa's argument of genocide. I didn't endorse it because I thought Israel had a right to retaliate against Hamas, and I thought Israel had a right to try to incapacitate Hamas so that it would never be able to do anything like that again. But I was disturbed by some of the actions of Israel, by the use of very large weapons, 2,000-pound bombs, which are utterly inappropriate in a crowded urban area. A bomb like that can kill somebody 2 football fields away, and using bombs like that was inappropriate in the context of Gaza. But still, I didn't think that Israel was engaged in genocide just because of the effort to retaliate against Hamas, even though I thought Israel went far overboard in the way of its retaliation.
So what changed your mind then?
What changed my mind was that over a period of time,
I don't care how long it took for him to arrive at this conclusion, okay? You need to understand something very important. It doesn't matter. Don't say I do. Shut up. It's good. It's good for someone like this to be able to change their minds. What are you talking about? It's incredibly important for someone like this to change their minds. What the f are we talking about? What are you doing? Are you gatekeeping like people expressing anti-genocidal sentiment? What the f is wrong with chatters, bro? This is not like chatters. This literally is not about like being a hipster. The f
Israel has obstructed the delivery of humanitarian assistance to Gaza. And those who have been most severely victimized are not the members of Hamas. Men with guns ordinarily find a way to get food and to get fed, but it is young children who are most severely damaged by malnutrition and who will either starve to death, or if they survive, they will be diminished for the rest of their lives, diminished physically and psychologically by the severe malnutrition they are enduring as children. And I thought that severe obstruction of the delivery of humanitarian assistance amounted to genocide.
The Israeli case is multifold, but let me suggest one angle that I've heard people take, which is in the beginning there was a kind of Israeli rage, and there's that famous quote of Defense Minister Gallant. He says, "I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly." But that over time, they did start letting food and fuel in, and they have not, there might have been a period where they said and did things like that, but that was brief and it has ended.
The amount of food and the amount of water and the amount of fuel they have allowed in is entirely...
Yeah, Fareed Zakaria is a piece of by the way. You know how I said like, oh, sometimes journalists will do this thing where they like ask a leading question or ask a question that seems like crazy, specifically to draw out a response from the person that they're interviewing. I wouldn't say the same thing for Fareed. I think he is a piece of
inadequate to deal with the 2 million, more than 2 million people who live in Gaza. And the USAID Administrator, Samantha Power, testified before Congress that famine had set in Gaza. The head of the UN World Food Program has said that full-blown famine.
That's Cindy McCain, by the way. Also, remember when I told you that like all of this stuff holistically works in one direction, which is to apply additional pressure on the state of Israel? Every little thing, every little step in the right direction plays a major role in many instances in ways that you can't even comprehend. Very important to consider. Like this interview being aired on CNN, unheard of, unimaginable. That guy personally didn't even think Israel was doing a genocide. His organization that he started has called Israel an apartheid state since 2021. You understand? And he still on October 7th was like, no, Israel has a right to defend itself. How did he arrive at this conclusion? How did he have a change of mind? This is important to examine. This is important to understand.
Is underway in Gaza. Destroying the farms, destroying the greenhouses in Gaza, killing a large number of aid workers who were involved in the distribution of food, challenging the ability of the UN agency that has been principally involved in distributing food to continue that activity, and persuading the United States and other governments to cut off funds from that agency. All those things have had a cumulative impact on the availability of food and water and electricity and medical supplies in Gaza.
Prime Minister Netanyahu says that the IDF, the Israeli army, is actually scrupulous and very moral in the way it handles these things. It tries very hard. What do you say about that?
He says that. I don't think others would say that. At this moment, there are settlers in the West Bank area who are interrupting trucks taking humanitarian assistance into to Gaza. They are attacking the truck driver, spilling the contents of trucks carrying humanitarian aid. The Israeli defense forces have not intervened in order to prevent the settlers from engaging in sabotage of that sort in delivering humanitarian assistance. The Israeli defense forces have aided the settlers, and a very large number of Palestinians in the West Bank have been killed in the past few months, often with the Israel defense forces either standing by or directly participating in attacks on Palestinians in that area.
There are Israeli officials and people who feel passionately on the subject who say the reason these warrants are particularly unjustified is because Israel has a process, a judicial process, to look into abuses of its army. It's a democracy.
The statute for the International Criminal Court is based on the principle of complementarity. Complementarity means that if a government actually, in good faith, conducts an investigation itself of abuses that have been committed and takes action itself to punish those who may have been engaged in abuses, the ICC should step back. But in the case of Israel, there is no indication that there has been any effort by the Israeli authorities to conduct an investigation of the abuses committed in Gaza.
Do you think in the past have they done it? Do you have confidence in the Israeli system?
No, I don't have confidence in the Israeli system. There have been many abuses over the years, and there has not been appropriate investigation and punishment of those who have been responsible for abuses.
Prime Minister Netanyahu says that this prosecutor is anti-Semitic and is feeding anti-Semitism.
You know, the use of the term anti-Semitism to attack those who criticize Israeli policies degrades the concept of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism has been a great scourge, but it doesn't insulate the...
I want all of my psychotic naysayers to basically tell exactly the same shit that they've been telling me to this guy who is saying literally verbatim the things I've been saying since October 7, mind you. What's the problem? Is it because I'm the one who said it and your favorite content creator despises me? Is that what it is? Or is it because I was right too early? If you said this shit 5 years ago, you'd be called a Nazi. That's interesting that you're saying that, because I did say this shit 5 years ago. I said this shit 10 years ago too. So you can go and find old videos of me saying exactly the same shit. And also, people have been saying that I've been anti-Semitic for never to this degree, but people were saying that even back then, because it's always been the same anger and the same response.
The Israeli government from being held to the same standards that other governments have to be held to around the world. The Israeli government has been very comfortable with certain anti-Semites. Prime Minister Netanyahu, for example, has cultivated a relationship with Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, and I think it's appropriate to consider Orban.
Youngest HasanAbi head on Fareed Zakaria. We should do a compilation of my takes side by side with this shit. Bro, this is literally verbatim.
An anti-Semite. But to charge the International Criminal Court with anti-Semitism is, I think, absurd.
For you, as somebody, a Jew who escaped Nazi Germany, this must be, it's a weighty charge to accuse Israel of genocide.
It's a terrible thing to accuse anyone of genocide, but it's a more terrible thing that genocide should take place. In my view, Jews are only going to be safe if everyone's rights are respected, and the rights of Jews are respected along with the rights of everyone else.
Aryeh Neier, at 87 years old, you're certainly still going strong. Thank you
very much.
Right. Live, Israel, get out of it. Palestine is not yours. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators gather at St. Augustine Square in Paris. Only 3% of settler violence complaints are indicted, and only half of those cases are convicted with joke sentences. And these are civilian vigilantes. Obviously, IDF gets investigated / punished even less. Meanwhile, military courts convict 95% of the convicts Palestinians 95% of the time. Who supplies most of the arms to Israel? 4.7% come from Italy. 29.7% come from Germany. 65.6% come from the U.S. This is the estimated volume of major arms transfers from 2013 to 2023. I like that we just did the Axis powers, you know? It's great. German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock saying that the ICJ rulings, including the recent one in Rafah, were binding and should be followed.
Natürlich diese vorläufigen Maßnahmen des IGHs, sie sind bindend und sie müssen natürlich.
I told you, bro, they can't stop. This is their natural, this is the nature of the German. They love rules, bro. I'm telling you, they're just like the rules. You're not following the rules. It's, hello? I don't know if you know this, but like there are rules and you must follow them. Crazy.
Natürlich befolgt werden. Wir erleben gerade das Gegenteil und zugleich sehen wir, dass es kein Gewinn für Israels Sicherheit ist, dass keine Geisel freikommt, wenn jetzt Menschen in Zelten verbrennen. Das internationale Völkerrecht, das humanitäre Völkerrecht, das gilt für alle, das gilt auch für die israelische Kriegsführung. Diese vorläufigen Maßnahmen des IG.
Just straight up, they're like, I'm so shocked that there are rules that were set in place and you guys aren't following it. This is crazy. Israel should have made being Palestinian illegal, then Germany would be on board. Yeah, I mean, Germany literally did make being Jewish illegal, among other things. So anyway, propagandists for genocide, masquerading as journalists, Middle East crisis. Netanyahu calls civilian deaths in Israel strike on Rafah a tragic accident. Netanyahu acknowledges tragic mistake after Rafah strike kills dozens of Palestinians. Netanyahu acknowledges tragic mistake in Israeli strike on Rafah. Guys, he's sorry. Baerbock is a piece of shit, but it is Germany. They're maybe the most important country in international legal system. Yes. The EU, the ICC, the UN, everything crumbles if Germany is no longer in support of international rules and laws. The EU would fall apart. There is no EU without Germany. Deadly strike on Rafah, a tragic mishap, Netanyahu says. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says airstrike on Rafah, which killed dozens, was a tragic mistake. And to be clear, reporting on the Israeli Prime Minister has to say is not in and of itself propaganda. Propaganda plays a function. In this case, this is how these new outlets are choosing to lead coverage on the tent massacre. And these are news outlets that have been doing stenography for the Israeli genocide for 8 months.